Bonjour tout le monde, and welcome to my Prix de Triomphe preview, the final race of Enable. So sad. Get the get the tissues ready, guys. This is going to be an emotional roller coaster. The last time you'll hear me talk about it, maybe only the second or third, but still, it's going to hurt. Anyway, quick update on the ground over there. It is supposed to be very soft. Maybe my tears from last year. Maybe not. Maybe the rain. But either way, it's going to be very soft, and that changes the dynamic of the race a fair bit. We've seen that in the shape of the market over the last week with Stradivarius coming in and Love drifting out. So yeah, I'll get straight into it by talking about Enable. So Enable, the Queen, is priced at 7 to 4 at the front of the market, and it looks, I don't know, probably around the right price for her. Her season this season hasn't been the most convincing. She came second to Gaeff in the Eclipse. Obviously, Gaeff has shown himself to be a bit of a superstar this season, and Johnny G was adamant that she was only at about 80%. And then she went to the King George, where the race cut up before it happened, and it was just her taking on Sovereign in Japan. Japan apparently had sore feet, and she won very easily, but it was Sovereign whose form's a bit all over the place. Obviously, he has won an Irish Derby, but he's not a horse that would typically come second in the King George. So the form of that is, I don't know, it's not cement. It's not cement. But her next race was the September Stakes. Again, you just can't measure the form. She beat a 104 or 105 rated horse in second. So it was just a run out just to get fitness ready for this race. And I kind of take that as a positive, that she has just had her season entirely plotted out with this focus and has had very easy targets along the way, besides the Eclipse, but it looks like she did not go out to win that just for the run. So yeah, it's a 7 to 4. I will probably back it because I love Enable, but I think it's around the right price. So if you're looking for something slightly bigger, I would take something bigger. If you're looking to, it's easy enough to just get enough emotion from watching Enable run without having to back her. Well, for me, certainly, I don't know if that passes to you, but if you're something like short prices, I would back her. Obviously, last year, it's going to be similar circumstances to last year, where it looked like she didn't quite stay, or Frankie possibly kicked too soon. So I think that will certainly be within Frankie's considerations going into the race and how the race is being run. Because, yes, she won the race as if she would stay. She ran the race as if she would stay last year. Now that she knows that maybe they won't, they may change things up, and obviously that will only help to work in her favour. So maybe 7 to 4 is an okay price. She hits 2 to 1, go in. Wheelbarrows unloaded. If around 7 to 4, I'd take it or leave it and probably just soak up the final performance from one of racing's greatest ever mares. So yeah, that's Enable. Love the Young Pretender, 3 to 1, drifting like a barge. She has won 3 races very easily this season for a combined total of about 18 and a quarter lengths, I think it is. 2 of those are classics, obviously the 1000 Guineas, the Oaks, and then she went on to win the Yorkshire Oaks. The big question mark, well, one of the 2 big question marks about her is, what has she beaten? She has raced against fillies only. The Yorkshire Oaks obviously is older fillies, but the form of the race, it just isn't top level. She doesn't have experience going a proper open company Group 1 pace, and especially on this ground, which is the second of my concerns, I'm just quite wary of her. Obviously, if she gets to maybe 4 to 1, 9 to 2, then she might be a backable price, but at around 3 to 1, 7 to 2, I'd be leaving her. But she does look a fantastic filly, and I hope that Bain O'Brien and Coolmore keep her in training next year, which seems to be a more common thing nowadays. And on a good ground, I think, she'll be close to unstoppable next year. I can't her tangling with magician, and there should be some great battles over the middle distances. But I think just how soft the ground's going is going to go against her, which is a shame. It would have made for a lot better race if it was decent ground, but no, on this, the price slightly too short for me for Love this time. Stradivarius is next in the market, about 7-1. He was 16-1 earlier this week before just the news of the rain. And 7-1 is way too short, especially for a win price. I assume he's only come in so much because of people wanting to back him each way. And for me, he does not have a 1 in 8 chance of winning this race. So no, I'd be leaving him. Not for me. Rabiha, I'll talk about a couple of the Frenchies now. Rabiha, she's 14-1, which is just way too short on her current form. I don't understand it. She's been talked up loads, but she's come up short in a few of her last races, including the French Oaks, and then obviously the Prix where she lost her in Prix of Tanawa. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but on a side note, I backed for the fillies in mares race at Ascot because I was really taken by that victory. But Rabiha, she's got a lot to find on that form, and 14-1 is way too short. Similar price as Sotsas, you can get a bit of 14-1, but commonly 12s. And I would take 14-1. In fact, I have backed at 14-1 each way. I think this is slightly too big. He reminds me of the Waldgeist of last year. The question marks are over him staying, but on last year he ran a really good fourth on what's likely to be fairly similar conditions. So the run in the Irish Champion Stakes, although it wasn't great, the way French trainers suggest it's most likely a prep run. Obviously, the same can be said to Rabiha, but the horses that were in the Irish Champ Stakes are on a different level to Narwa. So, yeah, I would forgive Sotsas more than I'd forgive Rabiha, and I think 14-1 is slightly too big. I'll rattle through some of the O'Briens. Serpentine. He is 16s, likely maybe get a bit shorter if he once he's confirmed tomorrow. So obviously he was the winner of quite a funky derby. A lot of people have written off the win, but I think it was undeniably impressive the way he managed to sustain a gallop all the way to the line. Whether he'll get such an easy time up front, almost certainly not. And yeah, the 16-1 is kind of tempting. My question marks would be over the ground. I was pleased or impressed with his comeback run. Pleased sounds like I'm the trainer. No, I was just impressed with his comeback run. There's analysis after the race that showed that Grand Prix de Paris went very quickly, and that the horses that were on the pace, he was first out of the horses that were on the pace. The rest of them were well back, and the horses that were held up came through to win, such as Mogul, who is at a similar sort of price. And out of the two of those, I'd be taking Serpentine, because Mogul race fit, Serpentine was coming off a break, and Mogul got the complete run of the race going up the inside. So yeah, if you want to take one of the two, I would take Serpentine. Japan, 33s. Those of you who are regular watchers will know that I am not Japan's biggest fan. But in this instance, I think 33s are slightly too big. He placed in the race last year. Aidan O'Brien, there are a lot of excuses from this year, but that's factored into the price. Or I don't know if it's not factored into. I'd say it's not factored into the price. He's run poorly this year, but there are excuses. If he wins, I'll be gutted, because it goes against everything I've said. But I do think at 33s, given his given his run in the race last year, is slightly too big. So yeah, you'll never hear this from me again, but Japan, slightly too big. Okay, in conclusion, Enable, let's all pray for Enable. No, I really hope she wins, and as I said, around the 74-2-1 is probably the right price. If she drifted bigger than that, I would back her. I will back her anyway, because I love her and will never be able to bet on her again. But no, I think there's a bit of slack created in the market by a couple of horses being too short, be it Stradivarius, Rabiha, and the slack's picked up by a couple others, and a couple in O'Brien's and Serpentine in Japan. I think that's slightly overpriced, and Sotsas too, as I mentioned. But yeah, we'll all be cheering on the Great Wonder Mare, Enable. A couple more horses to mention. You've got the German Derby winner, who's 16-1. I think the only swooping that'll be happening if you're backing him is the bookies going into your pockets and taking out your hard-earned cash. 16-1 is a bad price. I think he's got so much to find on form. Almost as bad a price as the delivery and the content of that joke. But yeah, no, in swoop, not for me. Persian King, I can't see him staying. He struggled to stay the French Derby over 10 furlongs, let alone a well-run arc over 12 furlongs on very soft ground. So no, he's not for me.